Right, so next up, we have in the studio with us Paul Stephen Gill, who was born with a rare type of spina bifida and now has other health issues. However, he is now working in Bradford for Exercise for Less on Preston Street as a personal trainer, overcoming his own health issues. And welcome, Paul.
Hi guys, you all right?
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Have you been in the gym this morning?
I have, yeah. I've done my own thing.
But for our listeners, I have to say, I wasn't too sure. I mean, I have worked with people with spina bifida, and it's a varying sort of like degree of things, isn't it? Like most conditions, it sort of varies for one person. I mean, looking at you, I mean, you look fit.
Thank you.
You're sort of like, you look like, your average Joe walking down the street, and sort of, I wouldn't know that.
I've now got arthritis in both my hips, from bony growths, all sorts of issues really that have sort of stemmed from the autoimmune diseases as well, which as you can imagine is through stress on the body. But as you say, it's very difficult to put this message across when you've got to go through all of it, and the first impression that everybody gets of you is you look like this because you're in the gym all the time, whereas to get to where I am, the effort is a hell of a lot more for a hell of a lot less. Yeah. Especially with a metabolic condition. I like to think, so I lost 8 stone myself. I went from 20 stone. I had to drop the weight for medical purposes. I also found one of the medical conditions was causing it. So it was like one of those hand-in-hand situations. But I slogged it out. I became the walking epitome of willpower and determination. I gathered a lot of information, and I found that had I have had that information sooner, I would have been able to have got it safer and more efficiently. So when I did it myself, that's when I said, right, I'm going to take this, I'm going to bundle it up, and I'm going to take it to people like myself who are in this situation, and the general masses. I'm not going to say that I'm just limited, to one thing or another. But most certainly, I would say from the second that I became a personal trainer, that's when I went straight onto medical referral, birth to 5, pre-postnatal. So obviously from birth all the way through to childhood, and then we've got through all the medical conditions and general populations. So hopefully life to death, depending on
Well, that's pretty such a heartwarming story that sort of like. I mean, quite a lot of us, take it for granted when we start off through our life. Our health is, pretty average. It's okay, no real big issues and things like that. And then when you come across people that have, had just to tumble over one hurdle and then another hurdle,
and at that point, I can say, well, I can deal with that, or I can refer you on to someone who can. Because we all have special areas. I've made mine as vast as humanly possible, but I'll still admit if there's something that I can't deal with, then I'll pass it on to somebody who's a specialist in that area. But it's trying to get through to people that a gym lifestyle isn't something that's reserved for a certain type of person. And it's almost like supplementation, and you get protein shakes, not as good as the real thing.
No, indeed not.
But certainly, if you don't get it, then you need it.
So in actual fact, there are some things that you can actually do that is just not sort of like, putting your whole body into it. I mean, there's gentle exercise, isn't there?
Yeah.
You don't have to. I mean, I'm not a regular gym user. I was joined a gym a few years ago when I was at work, and I went in and, some things I just did because they were, calming. And, they just got you sort of like all the busyness out of your head. Sort of like if I was jogging, some people next to me would be going 10 to a mile, and I'd be just pacing myself along and quite enjoying it, actually.
It's there's an element of stress relief in it. There's got to be. And again, to overwork yourself is just as dangerous as doing nothing, really. The mentality is, I'm not going to suggest, I did want to set off a precursor to the whole interview and say, look, I'm not the be-all and end-all of information. Everybody's got a different angle on how to do this, and that we're all individual and completely unique. To suggest that one size fits all in terms of exercise, and you'll get a lot of that in this industry. A lot of people will come at you and go, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But that would fit a general population. It'd fit them, or it'd fit their friends, their age gap or their gender or whatever the case may be. I'm based in Exercise for Less in Bradford on Preston Street, and I'm just as approachable as anybody else on the gym floor. I make myself available to anyone and everyone.
Right.
So as soon as you come in, we make ourselves very obvious. And I must admit, as I say, I've worked in a lot of gyms throughout my time, and without doubt, Exercise for Less is the best I've worked at for the atmosphere, the equipment and availability. But a lot of people can be intimidated by the notion of walking into a gym environment, and that's really what I want to take them through and guide them, especially for someone who's reserved in the idea of it. But in order to bring it into their life, I'd like to guide them through it the same way I would have preferred to have had my hand taken, really.
Well, that's brilliant stuff, and we'd like to encourage all of you listeners that have been listening or know of somebody that could probably, because it's quite a social thing as well, to sort of like go up and you meet people and I'm not very good at joining in, but I went along to the gym and I found it quite okay. A lot of people say it's boring, well, it's only as boring as you make it. Try and interact with other people. So thank you very much for coming in, Paul.
You're very welcome.
That's really, really good. So that's Exercise for Less.
Preston Street, Bradford.
Thank you very much indeed.